Hello children. Today we'll continue again with the chapter frequency distribution. In the previous lecture, I told you about the classification of data or how to classify the data in a proper systematic order for particular statistical analysis. Now this classification of data leads to further step, that is the statistical series. That means the classified data has to be arranged in a proper statistical series form so that analysis can be made easily. Now let us see how statistical series are formed. Before starting the formation of statistical series, I just want to make it clear to you the meaning of statistical series. Here, statistical series means a systematic arrangement of items into a particular order or sequence in different classified categories. As I told you earlier, when we classify the data, then you have to classify the data into different groups according to their qualities or attributes. Similarly, a systematic arrangement of items, this is a systematic arrangement of items into a particular order or sequence in different classified categories. That means the categories what you have formed with the help of classification of data, those categories are again arranged in a particular systematic order to form the series. Okay? So this means that a statistical series is again a further step after the classification of data. That means forming the different particular order or sequence for further analysis. Now let us go to further this clarification that what are different types of statistical series, because the data what you collect, that is of different types. So again, according to your particular purpose of inquiry or according to the type of data what you have collected, you have three different type of series. This is individual series, discrete series and continuous series. These are three different types. Now one individual series, that is on the basis of individual unit, whereas discrete and continuous series, that is on the basis of frequency. You must remember, you must be knowing that, or you remember very well that what is meant by frequency. Frequency means the number of times an item appears in a series. So accordingly, when we are making the series on the basis of individual unit, then we are taking into consideration each and every individual unit and not the frequency of any unit. This is known as individual series. And when we are considering the frequency, that means how many times a particular item has appeared in the series or in the data, then this is called frequency series. Now for further explanation, I will give you an example. Now in the case of individual series, when we are making the individual series, then here first we will take the serial number and suppose we are taking the marks of students in the class. Then when we are noting down the marks of each and every student, then this will be the case of individual series. Then suppose there are 10 students in a class, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now let us take this example. Here I have made two columns, serial number and marks. And for our example, I have taken marks in this case. That is marks of 10 students scoring in particular subject. Now it can be marks, it can be any other variable you can take, like income of people or expenditure of different group of people, or you can say the age or height of children in the class, whatever. But here we have taken the marks. That doesn't mean that only marks can be categorized like this. It can be any other variable. Now suppose we are taking marks of 10 students in the class. Then each and every child is taken into consideration. It may be in the form of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like this, or you can note down the names of the children, and these are the marks. For one child has scored 20, another has scored 25, third one has scored 10. Like this, marks of all 10 students are given here. This is the case of individual series, because individual items are taken into consideration. And remember again that suppose two children have scored 30, then in that case, here you will not note down the marks in the form of frequency. You will write down the marks in individual units, whether the number is repeated or not. So don't convert it into type of frequency, because this is the case of individual series. Right? Now we come to the next type of series, that is on the basis of frequency. This will take how the frequencies are written down against the different type of variables. Now there are two type of variables, discrete variables and continuous variables, as I told you in the previous lecture. Variable means the item which varies, which can be measured in units and which varies with time. Now two type of variables are there, discrete variables and continuous variables. Now we'll take the example of this, discrete variable and continuous variables. Discrete variables, as I told you earlier, discrete variables are the variables which are given in complete numbers. They cannot be expressed in fractions, whereas continuous variables, they are expressed in fractions, or they can be in the form of class interval also. Now first we'll take the discrete series. Now how we form the discrete series? This is the case of individual series, right? Individual series. Here we are taking the discrete series. Now here in the discrete series, as I told you, this is on the basis of frequency distribution. So you will make the columns accordingly. First you will write down the marks, first column, and second is frequency. These are always made on the basis of frequency. Now marks, suppose you have noted down that mark distribution 22, 30, 35, 40, like this. Then the frequency of these marks, suppose 5 children have scored 10 marks, 20 marks have been scored by 2, 22 have been scored by 4, 30 have been scored by 5, 35 by 2, and these are 6. So this type of distribution is called discrete series. The total number of students in this case is 5, 2, 7, 11, 5, 16, 18 and 24. Okay, so this type of distribution is known as discrete series, which is always the marks cannot be, or any description is given in the full numbers. It cannot be given in fractions, or it cannot be given in the form of class interval. Right? Now we come to the third one, that is continuous series. So these are three types of series. One, you have taken individual unit, individual series, discrete series. Now we come to the third one, that is continuous series. This can be given in the form of fractions. It can be given in the form of class interval also. Now let us take it in the form of class interval. Now suppose you are taking the marks of students. You divide, then minimum marks are 5, then one class interval is 5 to 10. Second will be, these are marks. And again, the frequency or number of students, you can say. Number of students I am writing down here, that means it is the same as frequency. 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, 20 to 25. Suppose we are taking only 5, that means highest marks are 30 and minimum marks are 5. Now we have to see how many students are in this category. Suppose there are 4. 10 to 15, how many have scored? Suppose there are 2, this is 5, then 6 or whatsoever, right? That makes total 'right? So this way, when we make the series, then this is known as individual, continuous and discrete series. This is known as statistical series in 3 different forms. Now, after understanding all this, let us come to another description, that is what is meant by class. There are certain terms which you will be required to know when you are making the continuous series or discrete series or maybe individual series. But normally these terms are used in the form of class interval or continuous series. Now what is a class? As I told you, this is the marks here. These are in the form of class interval. When I say class, then what does it mean? What is a class? That means a class represents a range of particular value. Here, this is a class. This is 5 to 10. This is a particular class. That means the range of marks is between 5 to 10. That means children are scoring marks not less than 5 and not more than 10. In this category, we have 4 students. Second class is 10 to 15. That means minimum marks are 10, maximum are 15. This is another class. So class represents a range of value, and each given interval is called a class, right? So number of classes, when we are deciding, here I have taken 5 classes. Now another step is we have to decide how many classes you are going to take when you are compacting the data. Now suppose you have collected the data which is ranging from 0 to 100. Then you can take the class interval of 10 or maybe 20, because keep this in mind, when you are dividing the data into different class intervals or different classes, then these classes should be between 5 to either 5 or maximum 20, right? Why I say that class should be between 5 and 20? Normally we take this number. Why? Because if you take this class distribution less than 5, then description will not be very clear, or analysis cannot be made very clearly. For clear comparison or analysis, at least 5 class intervals should be given. And if you take more than 20, then it will be too complicated to analyze, because then there will be lot of description or lot of class intervals which will give a detailed analysis, and that will be little complicated. Now you must be thinking that suppose there are 1,000 children or 1,000 data regarding 1,000 people you are collecting. Now how to give the data in 5 class intervals or 20? For that you have to decide that what class interval you are taking, or how many number of classes you will decide on the basis of this thing, that number of classes are R upon I. Now what is R here? R is the range. That means what is the range of data, and how do we decide the range? This is the minimum number or minimum, the lowest data, or and another side the highest data. The difference between the lowest and highest data gives you the range. Suppose you have collected the data which is ranging between 0 to 1,000. That in this case your range is 1,000. If it is ranging between 0 to 50, here the range is only 50. So accordingly, whatever is the range, and accordingly you take the class interval. As I told you, suppose there are 500 children in a particular locality and you are doing the investigation of 500 children. Then if you want 5 classes, then the class interval you will take how much? 500 divided by the class interval, that is 100 you will take, and the number of classes will be 5, right? So 5 classes for this, number of classes will become 5 when you take the class interval of 100. If there are 5,000, then you can take the class interval of 1,000. Now if you want to make more than 5 classes, then you can make the class interval of, you can say, if you want to make 20 classes, then how much? Now here, suppose you want to take the class interval of 200, or you can say 250, then you will get the class interval of 20. Number of classes 20 and class interval will be 250. So this way the classes are decided on the basis of the range. Now next is another term, what is class interval? Now how do you define the class interval? Range of the class is called class interval. In this case the range is 5 to 10. So class interval or the gap between the two is 5. In the other way, suppose you are taking here this example, the class interval is 1000. In this, class interval is 50. So this way the difference between the upper limit and the lower limit. So class interval you can say is upper limit minus lower limit, that is class interval. This is, or you can say L2 minus L1. L2 is the upper limit and L1 is the lower limit. So in 10 to 20 the class interval will be 10. In 10 to 15 the class interval, because upper limit is 15, lower limit is 10, that is 15 minus 10, that is 5. Okay. So class interval is the difference between the upper limit and the lower limit. This upper limit and the lower limit is also known as class limit. So one concept what you have learnt is, that is, first is class. What is a class? Second is class interval. Third is class limit. This is known as class limit. So class, you have understood here how to divide the class. Class interval is the difference between this, and class limit is the upper limit minus the lower limit, that is known as class limit. This limit can be either in whole number or it can be in fractions also. Maybe 5.5 to 10.5 or 10.5 to 15.5, like this. Okay. So this is known as class limit. Another term what you are concerned here is, that is mid value. What is mid value? Mid value. Now what is meant by mid value? Mid means middle, so middle value. Now when we are talking about class interval of 10 to 20 suppose, now what will be the middle value over here? This will be, here in this case, mid value will be equal to 10 plus 20 upon 2. This is equal to 30 upon 2, that is 15. So what is the mid value? The lower limit plus the upper limit. As I told you, what is limit? The lower side is lower limit, this